I grew up loving all the stuff that you did in animation, from Cubby Gummy, who I really saw myself in as a kid because I was 5 when it came
Oh
out. So
boy,
I think
he
I
was
was a
fashioned.
perfect
He
age for Cubby Gummy.
exactly. I fashioned him after about a 6-year-old boy.
There you go. Perfect. So that could have been me. But what was your childhood like? What kind of things did you like doing as a kid?
Well, I've been a dancer for my life. I mean, I came into this world practically going, I want to do that. So I've been a dancer since
Wow.
we things. I think I might have danced before I walked or something. And then I joined dance companies in my teens, and I got into acting. I always looked for pretty young. I considered myself a professional teenager. And so I got into acting and such after I'd been a professional dancer. And a lot of actresses have done that.
Yeah.
It's not an uncommon thing, because acting's fun to do. You don't have quite the rigorous routine,
Yep.
but you're already used to kind of working hard and doing stuff and emoting and having a good time with it all. So, and then I had a friend who said, You have such an interesting voice. You should do voiceover, you know? Because people would call my house and say, Is your mother home? So that's sort of been a bit of the way of my world.
Okay. I
But
mean,
dance, I still dance. I teach ballroom dance, basic ballroom.
okay.
I like to initiate people into dance. I do a bit of basic ballet teaching, things like that.
Awesome.
And
Yeah.
I still do splits and cartwheels
Are
and
you serious? Wow. I don't
yeah.
think I've ever done anything like that ever in my entire life. Never been flexible enough to do that.
Well, I've always been a bit flexible, so
Yeah.
there you go.
So when you first got into voice acting, I think I read that Dawes Butler was your mentor. Is that correct?
Correct.
Well, I mean, Dawes, I mean, there's not very many people I can name that I would want as my mentor as much as Dawes Butler, honestly. What was that like?
Oh, well, talk about nurturing and someone who really cared about you and who really wanted to have meaningful dialogues. He would write all kinds of wonderful scripts and then he'd give them to us to perform and such. And it was just an amazing training ground. I mean, Nancy Cartwright,
Yep.
you know, in fact, we sort of knew each other a bit in passing. And since then, I mean, we've been friends and such too. I mean, it's carried through. But he was just amazing that way and was so gracious and so generous about introducing you to people. Or, I mean, he's the one that took me to Hanna-Barbera.
Hmm.
He literally opened doors for me. That's how I have a voiceover career, was Dawes Butler.
Any cool stories kind of stick out when thinking about Dawes? Because that's a man I wanted to meet, never had a chance to do it. So I love living vicariously through people like you who knew him.
He, if I can think of a particular story, I don't know. He was just such a charmer. He was just so, and he was so real. He was so, and he liked to talk about. I mean, he'd write these scripts that they weren't animation scripts. They were real, like people having a conversation and a problem or something that was very heartfelt.
Huh.
So it was a real stretch.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed working with the people that he worked with. I mean, it was a very intimate kind of thing. You kind of, I think we went up, it was in the back of his garage upstairs, I think. I'm trying to, it's been a while.
Yeah.
and and it was always so kind of personal as opposed to, oh, now we're going to a voiceover class at a studio and they're going to give us scripts and it's going to be kind of like, okay, we'll do it this way, now do it this way. And I mean, it was very more personal and personality generated.
Hmm.
And the people, I guess, that were drawn to that or whatever, you just found it and you stayed with it. and he was just amazing, you know. And he just liked you on such a personal level.
Yeah.
It wasn't, I mean, it was professional, but at the same time, it was so much more personal.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can explain it well. I mean, you know, you have great relationships with some of your teachers, and he was a teacher and a friend.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Yeah. I
so
guess.
it's very special. In fact, just recently, I guess just maybe a year ago or under a year ago, kind of a handful of us that had worked with DAWs and been kind of had real personal relationships with him, etc., kind of got together, and we had our own little kind of commemoration of
I
him.
think I remember hearing about that. Was Brian Cummings there?
Yep.
Yeah, he
Brian,
was telling me about that.
Nancy.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was just such a special opportunity to know him.
Wow. And
And
what was your first voiceover gig in animation?
um I believe now he introduced me to radio drama.
Okay.
So I think my first jobs were some radio drama
Okay.
where I played, again, very young, like a 5-year-old girl or something, or maybe even maybe 3-year-old, just able to speak pretty well. And I think my big line was, "I love you, Daddy." It was just like, you know, and yeah, and I got to play a lot of young people, but mostly I think that was the first one I did. And then he also took me over to Hanna-Barbera.
Mm-hmm.
And so there I got to play a 14-year-old girl who was kind of feisty, and she was meeting the Thing, this big hulk of a thing.
Yeah, I was
And
reading about that show, Fred and Barney Meet the Thing,
it's the Thing,
and
yeah.
I don't remember that at all as a kid, at all.
I barely remember it myself when I was in it. But it was interesting because that's how I got introduced. I played the foot, kind of
Yeah.
the sort of the total contrast, right? You've got this big hulky guy, right? And then you've got this little cute, blonde, short-haired, teenage girl, and I've probably got a picture of it here somewhere. And it was just so much fun, and that's how I got introduced to Hanna-Barbera.
And
I think I had auditioned something, there was always auditioning involved.
Yeah.
But coming in with his kind of recommendation was always a big benefit.
I'm sure. Was Mel Blanc doing the voice of Barney at the time?
Yeah.
He was. So did you actually got to work with him?
I worked with Mel Blanc, yeah. He was remarkable. But I didn't have the personal relationship with him. It was more, okay, we're here, we're doing our thing, we're working. Good night. How are you? Bye. Well, I don't think we ever really gotten into any big conversations.
Yeah. Let's talk about one of my all-time favorite childhood cartoons. Of course, I'm talking about Gummy Bears, where you voiced Cubbi and Princess Calla.
Yes.
I don't know where to begin with that cartoon. I was watching it recently on Disney Plus, and I can't believe how well that cartoon still holds up.
Yes, in fact, that's what I forgot to bring. I've got it just in the other room. I've got my cells.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask you if you have anything from the cartoons. So you have some cells.
I do. You want to give me 2 seconds?
Yeah, of course. I'd love to see
Sorry
them.
about that. You can look at my file.
Wow, and it's got both of them. Oh, that's amazing.
Let's see. There we go. Yes, this was given to me.
Wow.
This was given to us. They gave us some cells. Is that not too bad a reflection?
No, I can see it very well. That's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, what a thrill, right? And I loved both characters so much.
Yeah, they're both so different, and I bet you it was fun just doing both of them.
Oh, it was, because Princess Calla was like me.
Yep.
And Cubbi was just a smaller version of me.
The little adolescent little boy again.
Yeah. No, it's so funny because I am an energetic, enthusiastic creature. So it was just form fitting, And that was actually also one of my very successful actions, was to find characters that just reflected the kind of being I am.
Yeah. When you first went into the show, were you always planning on voicing two characters? Was that always the plan for them and you?
No, it was kind of interesting. I remember auditioning for Cubbi. In
Okay.
fact, it was very funny because right around that same time, I actually got Slouchy Smurfling.
Okay.
And what's funny, what's really interesting is I had been auditioning for different things and I had done several shows. And I would do a show, but it would only last like one season,
Yeah.
right? And I thought, okay. And I did several shows and they'd only go for one season. And I thought, and I got to go to Europe with my parents. And I was in Austria and I was in, I think, Innsbruck. And I was looking around, I was walking around, and there was a toy store. And in the toy store, in the window, was the little Smurfs. And I thought, oh, I want to be on a successful show. I want to be a Smurf, right? And I went home, and within a month, I got to audition for the
Oh,
Smurfs.
wow.
And it was Smurf Kids, which was totally down my alley.
Exactly.
And I got to play Slouchy Smurfling. Slouchy Smurfling is he's kind of a cool dude, and he marches to the beat of a different drummer and plays a mean trumpet. So I got him. But then very soon after that, there was the Disney auditions. And I auditioned and I have this kind of, I got to get this cookie, but a totally different energy,
Yeah.
oh boy, And so I just had a ball with him and I ended up getting him too.
Wow.
That was Cubbi. So then I'm not even sure how Princess Calla came into the picture because, like I said, I had so much fun working and creating Cubbi that I don't even remember much about Calla because Calla was just sort of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, like I said, people call me up and say, "Is your mother home?"
Does that still happen these days?
Sometimes. I mean, I have to go. I'm the lady of the house.
Yeah. Now, when the two of them would have scenes together, would you record them side by side, or would you record them separately and then splice it in, or how would you do that?
It sort of depended on the scene, I think, because there were times when I could just jump between them, and then there's times when, depending on the action or whatever else was going on, they needed to do it separately, as I recall.
Okay.
Yeah.
That
So
makes
I
sense.
mean, but I was pretty comfortable with flipping back and forth between
Wow.
those two.
Yeah, I mean, if you just flip them back to your natural sounding voice, I guess it wouldn't be as hard as doing two different characters.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I know I need to be an example for my people. Oh, really? I mean, it's like, yeah. Me too. I'm the Crimson Avenger.
Ah, yes. I remember pretending to be him a lot as a kid.
Do you have your cape?
I mean, I had a pillowcase. I had a pillowcase around my neck, and I remember, I
Okay.
think I may have had like a Lincoln log as a sword or something. I don't remember.
What happened? Oh, good. You don't have. Okay. That wasn't in your screen,
Nope,
right?
nope. Everything is fine on my
Okay.
end.
Just me looking at things. Okay. No, and the cute little sword, it
Yep.
just. I really liked Gummy Bears because they really were playful. They were that classic kind of Disney where your evil guys are bumbling idiots, which are so pretty characteristic most
Yeah.
of the time.
Yep.
And there was something I always like it when animation forwarded really cool values.
Yep.
And that's how I really succeeded in the animation because I love that.
Yeah.
And I like being a good example, and I
Yep.
like forwarding good examples and giving kids something to aspire to, and something that kind of validated that they were bright and shiny and very capable.
Well, I think you succeeded definitely with Gummy Bears at least. And
Yeah,
and the Smurfs. I mean, I love the Smurfs as a kid, and you just put it out there in the atmosphere that you wanted to be a Smurf, and you became a Smurf.
I named it. It's so funny too. It was really fun. One of my favorite episodes with the Smurfs was the one where Gargamel was taking all the music away.
Okay, yeah.
And I, as Slouchy, reminded everybody that the music was in them,
Yeah.
already in them, and nobody could take it away. And
Nope.
oh, so cool.
Yeah. I mean, there's some cool things you can do as a cartoon character. Who knew that,
That's right.
that it would hit kids and kind of mold them the way they should be. I mean, if you didn't have good morals as a kid, being taught by your parents and everything, oftentimes, at least in the 80s, cartoons would help you along the way.
Yeah, it just helped kind of instill some of
Yep.
the values that we're trying to forward generally,
Yep. Exactly.
that's what I had trouble with the 90s. The 90s that started going out the
Yeah.
window.
Yeah, they got a little
And
more action packed, I think, and just didn't really have any stories, really.
well, also those characters that like were, they weren't working at things. They were kind of playing up how it was great to
Yeah.
not really be doing too much good stuff. And I'll tell you, I just didn't get the jobs because I didn't like them.
Wow.
I didn't like them.
Yeah.
And so it's hard to do something that you don't like.
Yeah. I always said, cartoons from the 70s and 80s were the greatest.
They really were. Just like our music was really good from the 60s and 70s.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree on that too. I don't listen to very many modern things at all.
Well, it's funny. I mean, there's some stuff and there's aspects and there's elements and there's times when stuff, it's kind of the music of your generation.
Yep.
But at the same time, when you want something that's going to hit you take you to another level or try to we had stuff that really was inspiring.
Yeah. Yeah. Nowadays it's all repetitive and just nonsense, really.
It's not always the message I want to say.
Nope. Now, going back to the Smurfs, that ensembled cast, I really cannot think of a greater animated show with a greater cast than the Smurfs had.
Yeah.
What was it like coming in as the newbie in the
Oh my
series?
gosh. Well, it's very funny. I've done a couple of shows. It was really wonderful too with the Gummy Bears, but we didn't have so many guests.
Yep.
We had kind of the group, and it was an awesome group. I mean, oh my gosh, Paul Winchell and
Oh my
Lorenzo
God, yeah.
Music, yeah, and then it was just lovely. Corey Burton. I mean, there's just so many. Yeah, but with Smurfs, I mean, I got to work with Jonathan Winters.
Yeah.
And most of us were in the room. I
Yeah.
mean, that was still when those shows were when people were in the room. So you met at the same time and you all went into this room and they had a bunch of microphones where everybody had one. Or if you really didn't have too much to do, maybe you'd split it with somebody else.
Yep.
You'd sit back and then you jump in or something. But most of the time, we all had our own microphones and we all had our own stools and, our your music holder and blah, blah, blah. And you were like, I was like,
I bet. I mean, to be a fly on the wall in that room, it would have been
truly.
amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, and the breaks were kind of fun sometimes, people would be real animated and stuff but it rolled. I mean, it rolled, you know.
Yeah. And speaking of guest stars, I think didn't Legend of Prince Valiant have a lot of amazing guest stars in that as well?
That was the one I was going to mention. I printed it out today. There were like 8 pages of people. It was like, oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
I remember watching that and thinking, "Oh my God, that's Tim Curry."
Yes, Tim Curry, Ephraim Zimbalist,
Yeah.
Samantha Egger. I worked with Robbie
Yeah,
Benson,
Robbie Benson.
Michael Horton. And then, well, it's so funny. I almost got to work with Pierce Brosnan, but he never came on the
Really?
show.
He was going to be on the show too?
He was supposed to. He never did make it. But that was the one I was going to go, oh gosh. But the most gaga I was Paul Williams.
Oh, yeah.
I love music. And I was such a fan of Phantom of the Paradise.
Oh, yeah.
Brian De Palma's
Yep.
Phantom of the Paradise. What was so funny was I ended up being in Carrie with
Yep.
Brian De Palma.
Yep. And I found that out recently too. That is amazing. I've seen that so many times. Never knew that was you.
Yeah. No, I've got, I worked with Robert Mitchum one time. And I've worked with, oh gosh, his name is, oh, it was right there. Richard Gere,
Oh,
you
wow.
know. I've worked with some stellar people, Michael Moriarty. Um, yeah, I was even very, very briefly at the beginning of The Last Tycoon that um, Robert De Niro was in.
Oh, man.
Yeah, but
Huh.
very, very briefly, and I don't even know if it's still there. Who knows? It was a wild day.
Yeah. Tell me about voicing for Prince Valiant when you were Rowanne. What was that like for you?
It was really interesting. First off, I remember auditioning for it when I went, oh my gosh, I loved the idea. It was empowered woman. I
Yep.
mean, she was a teenager, but she wanted to be the first female knight of the round table. And I went, oh my gosh, I know this chick. I I just knew who she was, and I just walked in and just did what I knew to do. I mean, it was a core being again, right?
Mm.
And it was so interesting because everybody in the city had auditioned, and I got it, and it was really a thrill and an honor. And I loved playing her. And I remember too, there was one of the episodes where she was going to be like, oh gosh, just to tell the truth. And they had her kind of like, oh no. And I went, no, no, no. Truth, the truth will set you free. You know what I mean? It's like, and I kind of gave it this whole other spin and made sure that the writing of it was a positive note, because like I said, I mean, you're setting an example, and what you put out there, people are going to hear, and they're going to go, oh yeah, and it's going to strengthen one side or the other
Yep.
of the argument.
Yep.
And I wanted to strengthen the more positive.
Yeah.
And I loved playing her, and all the wonderful people. The director of that show gave us each a whole
Oh,
photo
man.
album of all these wonderful
Oh,
people.
that is epic.
So I have some
Wow.
wonderful memories on that too.
Do you often flip through that and just to go back in time?
Every once in a while, it's kind of interesting. I'm not it. I had to kind of dig out. I have these things. Oh, can you see it?
Okay. Yep. I can see it.
This is like a lot of my dancing.
Oh, man.
This is like a lot of my acting. Okay,
Wow.
let me see it. Where is it? There
There
it
it
is.
is.
And these are kind of like my old scrapbooks of
Uh-huh.
these things. And then I have like stuff like this much that I need to put in a new one to take it from wherever I ended off on these. And these were like a long time ago. So, I mean, I've done a lot of stuff, and I've got a lot of things. I'm busy going forward. So I
Exactly.
don't always get to do a
Yep.
lot of looking back.
It's always good to look forward.
There's always a lot going on, and I teach, and and I'm really active in a lot of ways. So
Well,
I really don't have a whole lot of time to do
yeah.
some of this stuff.
What are you up to these days?
Well, I teach a basic ballroom class at a junior college. I've been teaching there actually. First, I was teaching with my parents because I told you I've been a professional dancer
Yep.
since like 17.
Yep.
So I've been doing dance, but also I just kind of drifted into the ballroom dancing because my parents did that. They loved it. They just were amazing, and they would teach people very basic ballroom dance so that anybody could do it, because
Hmm.
that's the thing. It's social dance.
Yep.
It's almost like having manners.
Yep.
Oh, would you like to waltz? Would you like to do a little of this? Very handy for social gatherings. And so I would so myself and my brother, both of us were professional dancers.
Wow.
And so we would help them. And literally, I have been teaching at that college now in some form or capacity for 40 years.
Oh my gosh.
I know. And I'm still doing
Well,
it.
at least the love is still there.
Oh, I have a passion for teaching people to dance, just to get them to move
Yeah.
and to enjoy it. And it's funny because that's the other part. When you're animating, you're not just going, you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
the whole thing is involved.
It's like
You
a
know what I
dance.
mean?
That's so true. It's like a dance.
It is like a
Wow. I
dance.
never thought of that before, but you're so right.
You just can't hit the microphone.
Nope.
You know, there's a few things you're not supposed to do.
Yeah, I remember I took ballroom dancing. I was 19, and there was a group that was being formed, and you had to pay to get into it, but they let me go in it for free because they wanted more people my age to show up. and
There
I
you
was
go.
one of the more popular kids, I guess, in the area. So they said come for free, and then it worked. I think maybe like 10 or 12 more people showed up because I was going there too. It was fun. I
Oh,
had I had a fun time doing it. I don't like dancing, but I had a fun time doing it.
social dance is actually a lot of fun. I had a neat thing. Yesterday was my husband's birthday,
Oh,
and my grandson and my son were both here, and both of them wanted to do some Lindy. So I was their partner. I got to be partners with both people. It was so much fun to have two partners. I just love to dance, and I think it's there's such a joy in being able to share motion with people that, believe me, if the whole world were dancing, I don't think we'd have all the problems that we have
yeah,
right now.
I agree. I agree.
Because there's a respect there, there's a love, there's a warmness, there's a welcomingness, and especially when you respect the other person, and you do nice things,
Yep.
and you have the most fun, and you don't even have to talk. You don't have to know what everybody's political view is, and da 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 da. You don't have things that divide you. It's just like, oh, let's enjoy this fun music together.
Just bringing humans together. Just
Yeah.
yeah, we need
I
that.
mean, there was so many clubs and so many things in the 50s. They literally, for teaching dance, they had to limit the class to 500 couples.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, yeah. My parents were they were one couple out of 24 couples that would be demonstrating couples amidst these 1,000 people, with the teachers actually up on stage in a large convention center setting.
Uh,
They'd be up on stage showing, but then there'd be the demonstrators all the way around the room, and those demonstrators would take responsibility for a whole group of people that were
okay.
around them and help them if they had troubles, or just help them make sure they got it.
Wow.
That's where my parents started.
Oh,
Well, they met at a dance, and then they got involved.
well, see, there you go. That's why you have dance in your blood. They met at a dance.
Totally. I think that's how I picked them. I'm going to be dancing with that group.
Yep, yep. All right, Noelle, I don't want to keep you much longer. Anything else coming up that you wanted to promote or anything? Where can people find you online? Anything like that?
Well, it's interesting. I do have noellenorth.net. .net? Yes, .net. I have been working very hard on trying to get more educated on social media.
Yeah.
I do come from the generation that we didn't quite operate this way.
Nope.
So, it's been I'm still I have a few of the things. I have an Instagram. But it's funny, a lot of my things have gone into being Noelle Norris. I'm Noelle North, but I'm married, and I'm also Noelle North Norris. So some of my stuff, I have a Facebook that's Noelle North. I have a Facebook that's Noelle North Norris. But I wanted to have the Noelle North be the professional one, or the one that
Yeah.
could be, interacting with fans and stuff. But it looks like it's kind of a big mix up. So
Oh well, what are you gonna
I'm
do?
still I'm still coming along with it. Um, I am trying to do a little bit more with some of these, and eventually, I expect to be doing, putting out more, some kind of different things. I'd love to know what they'd like to know, what they'd like to see me do
Awesome.
too,
Yeah,
because I do a little bit of dancing. One of these days, I'm going to post a little dance, and just little fun things that I've done for various
that'll
things.
be good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I still love it. I mean, I'd be doing all kinds of voiceover too if I found things that I liked, and I must admit, I kind of like the way my life is, so I'm not really on call too much,
Yeah.
so I get a little spoiled.
Why change
But
anything if everything's going all right?
yeah, things are good, and I'm very happily married, and I've got a great family, and I still play a lot.
Good.
So if somebody's got a voiceover thing, or they want a kid, or they want a grown, a recycled teenager, I'm here.
Perfect, Noelle. Thank you so much for your time today. And like I said, a big fan of your work. Thank you
Uh,
so much.
Thank you. It's been a real pleasure talking with you, and I hope your family, your community, your state, and I hope ultimately our nation and our world heals.
Definitely.
Um, oh, from me, I've also been a Scientologist for many years. And I found that to help me in so many ways, helps keep me young, helps keep me more stable and
Uh huh.
stuff. And they've got a fantastic network. It's called the Scientology TV network, and they have like really amazing stuff. It's not all, and it's pretty interesting just in terms of growth. It kind of helps you with life and living this, and it's made it so I'm happily married for 40 years,
There you
which
go.
I needed because this is my third marriage.
Oh,
So I know what
wow.
it's like not to be. So I mean, that would be the other thing that I would like to say nice things about, and maybe even recommend if somebody wants to just take a look at it. They've
Exactly.
got some great stuff on it, and it's in, like I said, good examples, some stuff that can really help you in life, and just make, especially now, there's so
Yeah.
much going on,
Yep.
and I would just say check it out.
Yeah,
Check it out.
like you said, a little bit of faith in something is better than what's going on in the world today.
Yeah, and what's nice is it actually doesn't dictate what your spiritual, what your religion is. It can just give you a lot of daily wisdom, and they've got some great stuff on just staying well and how to be healthy, and also just some encouraging things about other places and other things that are happening around the world.
Awesome.
So, I think right now we could use a lot of good
I
news.
agree. I fully agree with that. Is there any way you can close out the interview as Cubby Gummy?
Oh, Cubby Gummy. You know what? I wish everybody would go out and say, I loved my place. I loved my neighborhood. I loved my neighbors.
Perfect.
And tell them Cubby Gubby sent ya.
Noelle, again, thank you. Big fan of your work. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
And I like Tom.
My name's Tim.
Tim, oh my gosh. Why do I have it on Tom?
I don't know.
Where did I get Tom? You know what? That's probably why. Oh, there you are. You know what? I like Tom, and I like Tim, and I like Dave, and I like Richard, and I like Michael, and I like Steve, and I like everybody just about. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you, Noelle. Thank you so much.
I'm sorry about that.
Oh,
It's
no.
like people calling me they call me Naomi sometimes,
Oh, no.
or Nicole. No, they call me Nicole.
Oh, I hate that.
So I
Yeah.
just have to remind them it's Noelle, and you reminded me it's Tim, and I won't make that mistake again.
Exactly. It's not a big deal whatsoever. I don't mind at all.
We just met, so
Exactly. And hopefully we can talk again.
yeah. Thank
All
you,
right.
Tim.
Thank you so much.
Let me know. Okay.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.